Well, thought I would give a little update on what's happening with that Chrysler Laser, the turbo one. I have gotten the car running, if you've seen the previous video, and there's a couple people that have been following this project. It's very much a backburner project as I'm putting together an AW11. That's its mass airflow meter, there's its AC components, service valve. But it's a backburner project, but it is progressing. So, here's its throttle body. Part numbers for anyone that's interested. Just a single butterfly, nothing special. The bottom half of the throttle body is right here. That goes right down onto the turbo with a rubber pipe, one hose clamp, not too bad. The area around the actual air passage itself, all these passageways are under vacuum. That's your brake master cylinder booster control, and then various other vacuum ports breach off of it. That large deep channel you see right there is to do with your idle speed adjustment. The motor drops in there. That's your throttle positioning sensor, by the way. And I have taken it apart here. I was reading on some of the Dodge Turbo forums about these things, and I have the early style. Normally it's a plunger that just goes in and out. That's like most modern cars. This is gear driven, and however, apparently this gives people a hard time. They're supposed to, a lot of them fly apart when you take it apart, but I got lucky. So I'm not going to fiddle with it too much, but just a planetary gear set. And there's two discs in there. You can kind of see right here by this finger, there's a gap. And the inner disc spins, and it just regulates how much air the car gets at idle. This is the hose clamp that sits around it that secures the motor in place once you have it synced with the gears. Here's the motor itself. Just a regular little, something like you'd find in an RC car. But it just drops right in there, kaplunk, and I have tested it. It works, and this works. I'm hoping you don't have to phase these together. I'm hoping that the computer will just figure out where it is and, adjust it right. But if not, then I've completely messed up the timing because I spun it over a little bit. I spun it over on this and I spun that over to make sure everything was free. Throttle positioning sensor is right here, which is bad. I was throwing the throttle positioning sensor code. On these cars, this is the loom. It goes... it's up against the firewall, kind of by your brake booster. They have these two tethered together, and when you buy the throttle positioning sensor, what have you, they give you the wires and these plugs, and you have to put them into this connector, so that'll be fun. But a throttle positioning sensor online is about $9. It's not bad. I need a map sensor because I'm throwing a map sensor code, but for the life of me, I can't find it on my car. Which gets into the next thing I've been working on the car. Reason I can't find it, it's a 1985 model, and I've read that the later years, I think it's 87, but I could be wrong, 87 and later, the map sensor was located on the passenger side strut tower in the engine bay. I've seen pictures of them, they're pretty easy to spot. If it's not there, then you have an older car, and it's located in the logic module. This is the power module. It has to do with engine management, yada yada. The logic module is in the, I believe it's in the passenger footwell of the car. Maybe I have the two inverted, but one deals with power, one deals with signals and what the engine needs. Regardless, this is a very interesting piece of equipment Chrysler made. So this sits in line with your Airstream. In the car, it sits like this. Just like that, if you're standing from the fender of the driver's side. This has to do with fuel injectors, because I had to mess with this to get the fuel injectors to fire. I'm not sure what this has to do with. Regardless, air is sucked in here, and you have this little coupling on it, and that goes down into a little scoop in the fender, and it blows out here. But what's really interesting is what's in between here. Look at that, a potted circuit board. So that's potted in silicone or something similar. You can depress it, and it's, let me grab my flashlight here. I've lost my flashlight. Never mind, we don't need a flashlight. Except I found it. Anyway, this is potted in silicone. It didn't help at all, that made it worse. And you can see all the individual components, which is really neat. I thought when I got it, it was full of crap. I mean, there was cobwebs, leaves, you name it, was all wedged in here. Because you have to remember, this circuit board is in the path of the air. Now that you've seen the top off, it sits like that. So the air is going right here. Air goes right over the circuit board. The reason they did that is I'm assuming these all have to do with air temperature in, air speed, yada yada. They all have transistors attached to them. They look like transistors. I could be wrong. I'm not an electronics expert, but they look like transistors, and obviously transistors kick off heat. These are acting as heat sinks. I'm assuming they've somehow rigged it up where, depending on how cool or not cool these are getting due to airspeed, due to ambient air temperature, it's changing the voltages in the transistors, yada yada. The computer makes it work. I don't know, mystic magic science. But yeah, it's pretty neat. I believe this is good, but I was expecting to find a map sensor in here, and there's just not a map sensor. At least I don't think there could be. I've never seen a map sensor that didn't have a vacuum line. Pretty neat though. You can see all sorts of components, and it's just kind of cool how they did it. Granted, not efficient. I would not design something like this because this is before the air filter, and all sorts of crap was in here, and that was wreaking all sorts of havoc. And I heard that water used to get in these, and it would just find its way in, and it wouldn't be good. Wouldn't do it today, but it's very cool. Kind of like vacuum tubes. Probably wouldn't design something with them today, but man, are they cool. But yeah, anyway, this is this, and I had to clean out the connectors. All the connectors were seeded with, a couple centuries ago, dielectric grease, which is now turned into rock hard tar. So I've been dissolving it with rubbing alcohol and then blowing it out. But yeah, that's kind of an update. Not much more is going on. Rebuilt the fuel injector rail, if you haven't seen that. Rebuilt all the injectors. Well, cleaned them, flushed them, whatever you want to call it. New O-rings. So fuel rail's been done, fuel tank's been done, fuel pump's been done, sending unit, filter, lines. Now I'm doing the air side of things, obviously. Have to figure out the phasing of the idle airspeed controller, if that is indeed a thing. I'm really hoping the computer will just figure it out. I need a new throttle positioning sensor and a map sensor if I can find the darn thing. So if you happen to know on a 1985 Chrysler Laser Turbo where the map sensor is, please tell me. Otherwise I'm just going to keep ripping things off and figuring it out. But that's a quick update for you, and it really just wanted to showcase how cool this was. It's just you would never design something like this today, but it's just really cool how they kept it all centralized. I guess the processing power for the air temperature, speed, all that needed to happen. Why not just put it in the air cleaner system? That seems like a good idea, but there was moisture problems from what I've read. Anyway, just a quick update. I will talk to you all later.